and the Romanian border is the journalist Mircea Barbu. Great to have you on the show, Mircea. We really appreciate your time. And Vicky Price is still with me, Chief Economic Advisor at the Centre for Economic and Business Research. Mircea, of course, the main point about this war is the ghastly human suffering, the sovereignty issues involved, but the economic fallout is getting more prominent. It's getting talked about more, isn't it? How do you see the interaction between the economic issues of this war and the military issues of this war?
Well, indeed, Liam, they are not separated completely. As any war, economic and human suffering are often intertwined. And I've seen that since the first day of war in Mariupol, where I was when the war started, up until today at the Romanian-Ukrainian border, where every day I talk to people, mostly Romanians living on the Romanian side of the border or ethnic Romanians living on the Ukrainian side of the border, who are complaining that their lives are being affected by the war every day, by the fact that there are no investments coming in or out of Ukraine. Jobs are mostly put on hold at the moment, and that obviously brings more suffering and more tension and more stress to families already fleeing conflict. Now, that's the human interest, so to say, aspect of economics and human suffering. But there is a regional that could potentially turn into a world problem happening right here between Romania and Ukraine. And I'm going to briefly describe it for you. As you probably know, Ukraine has Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia account for about 80% of grain export in the world, Ukraine being a third of one of the largest exporters of grain, a third of that coming from the country currently at war. Now, all the ports at the Black Sea, and not only at the Black Sea, but all the ports that Ukraine has at the moment have been blocked by Russian ships. That means in practice that the grains are not coming out. None of the exports that Ukraine badly needs to support its economy. 50% of its exports are grain-based exports, are coming out of their Ukrainian ports. What happened in Romania in the last month or so, there's been a very heated debate on what Romania can do about it, /EU, what sort of solidarity we can provide. And there was one in the sense that the largest port at the Black Sea right now is currently in Romania, and it's called Constanța. If it's taken a lot of the grain export and a lot of the whatever trickles down into Ukraine at the moment happens through this port. The only downside to this is that Romania in general, as a country, has one of the weakest infrastructures in the European Union, including its port infrastructure, which was never constructed to cope with such an influx or to hold grains for long periods. If you want to put it this way, it's a port that it's mostly for transfers, quick in and outs of goods, merchandises, grains, oil, or whatnot.
Mircea, you've described brilliantly a